So you arrive at Swordville, and you look around. Can anyone give me a perception check? Yeah, I got this, guys. I got like plus 10 in perception. I think I'll be good. I got 8. You don't see any swords.
Don't worry, guys. I got this.
What? Who are you?
I don't know. I just got here. I'm in my character. I'm level 3.
Alright. Welcome to the game. What's your character's name?
As I've said, I'm level 3, so...
Your character's name is level 3. Alright, noted. Well, do you want to try perception check? What's your bonus?
I think I got like a plus 2 or something. Let me, where's the dice? Thank you. I got a natural 20.
Alright, well, you find some swords. Okay, I think this is a waste of time. Do you want to get out of here? Level 3? His name is level 3? Seriously? It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. Well, I'm looking at my stats now. I think I'm too low.
I'm 2.
2 what?
I'm 2 years old. My character is 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
But they look 2, but they're actually 500 years old.
Right, okay, I'm just gonna leave, alright? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. This is GDS speaking, and today we're gonna talk about a topic that I see every so often in D&D subreddits and stuff like that. And is D&D, or specifically the core mechanic of the D20 resolution system, too swingy? Now, the first thing we need to answer is, what does it mean to be swingy? By swingy rolls, I mean that the rolls are, or at least appear to be, too random. Too random for what? Well, too random to make sense. Too random to be believable, or in other words, to maintain verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is the appearance of something being real. So, to us, the topic of whether D&D is too swingy is important because we want our games, at least hopefully, to be real, or at least to feel real. So let's ask the question, is 5e's core resolution mechanic of the D20 too swingy? I think another way to put this question, which is a little bit more specific, is what is the ratio of randomness to reliability in 5th edition? So let's first start off by saying, generally speaking, people want to play as competent characters. These characters don't have to be superhuman, but they have to be powerful enough to be able to interact and influence the game. A game without interaction is not a game, it's a story. When people sit down to play a game, they usually don't want to be told a story, they want to be able to actually affect what's happening. Even if it's a really good story, that's not what they came for. Something else that people want is they want a game that's somewhat unpredictable, because unpredictability makes things exciting. Usually, at least in tabletop RPGs, this is done by using random elements, so stuff like dice, in the case that we're talking about the 1d20. The issue is that competence and random die rolls, in other words, randomness and reliability, work in direct opposition to one another. On the one hand, if a character is too competent or there's too much randomness, then nobody is guessing what's going to happen next. They know exactly how the character is going to perform, and there is no drama. The outcome would be too predictable. On the other hand, if a character is not competent enough, or the game is too random, then you get a result that's too unpredictable. You can't count on the character to do anything it's supposed to be good at. And to clarify on this topic, I don't think anyone can argue that there is some gold standard for the ratio of randomness to reliability. That said, I think I can make the argument that 5th edition is too random. So I did some math, and to be charitable, I assumed that levels 0 through 20 are all played at the same frequency. So in my calculations, I calculated that the average PC, using their highest ability score and a skill they're proficient in, loses 1 out of 5 times to an unmodified 1d20 roll. Another way to put this is a proficient character loses to a non-proficient character 20% of the time. To be honest, I don't think this is reasonable at all, even considering the fantasy of 5th edition, which is, the classic pulp fantasy. Competent characters are still competent at what they do, and they beat out other characters who are not trained. And if we want to talk about whether this is consistent with real life, or at least with our general expectations, I don't think it is either. I mean, how many people, barring me and you who are clearly Chads, would win 1 out of 5 times in a race with Usain Bolt? Or in a professional fight with a professional fighter? My guess is probably not 1 out of 5. It's probably not going to be that. Because of how random 5th edition is, people who are not playing as rogues or bards who have the expertise skill can't expect to be reliably competent. This is true even if they use the primary attribute and a skill they're proficient in. Now, to clarify, I'm not saying that a proficient character should always outperform a non-proficient one. As I've said before, there is a balance to strike between randomness and reliability. That said, I believe that the 1 out of 5 figures doesn't represent mastery of any skill. And here it's also important to remember that I was as charitable as possible in my calculations, which again you can see in the nonsense below. I assumed equal level distribution, the character using their primary stat and using a skill that they're proficient with. If anything, this is the average, best case scenario. 1 out of 5. Now, 5e tries to fix some of its reliability issues with passive stats like passive perception. This is not very effective. According to 5e rules, if you're using passive perception, someone could see more looking for nothing in particular than they see when they look for something in particular. Your perception check has the chance to be lower than your passive perception. And also, if we're going to start using passive things, why not use passive insight and passive charisma and passive for everything? Why are we rolling to begin with? Could it be that 5e is trying to use passive stats because otherwise the result just doesn't make sense? Now you're smart, and you might say that 5e makes passive perception so DMs can use it to secretly kill their players. Okay, you might not say that directly, but it's what you mean. Secretly killing players is a commendable endeavor, because after all, it is the DM's job to kill the players. That's not true. Not true. But luckily, murderous GMs out there, it doesn't actually require passive perception to kill your players at all. If you know the PC's passive perception stat, as you make the encounter, you can just decide whether they see something or not. If you think about it, that's really what you're doing when you make the encounter and take into account passive perception, because after all, you set the DC. And it's also true that if you're able to know their passive perception, then you can know their perception modifier and just roll a perception check for them. Now, do not be worried if you think your players will think something is up. DMs roll dice all the time, even in certain social situations where it's not entirely appropriate. Your players won't suspect a thing. And if they do, just accuse them of metagaming. Actually, don't do that. So, how do we solve the reliability issue? I think we should first ask, do we want to solve the reliability issue? A lot of people seem to be fine with 5e's swinginess and randomness. They like to play a kind of absurd game where anything can happen. They like to play a game where total novices can outperform professional athletes 1 out of 5 times. And that's fine. Absurdity can be fun, and it can be exciting. And when I say absurd, I don't mean unrealistic, how it matches to real life. I mean lacking in verisimilitude, that is, breaking the perception that something is real, or that your world or the game is real. But if you are bent on fixing the problem, then I have 2 tips which I think can be helpful. The first one, which is a little bit non-committal, it's not going to affect your game too much. I think this one is actually from the DM's manual or some kind of other official book. And what the rule is instead of using a proficiency modifier like a +2 or a +3, you use a proficiency die like a 1d4 or a 1d6. If you check the numbers, this slightly elevates the expected value of your proficiency, and I think it just makes the game a little bit more exciting, you know? If I find it, I'll try to include the entry that's in the DM's manual in the nonsense below. The second way to do this, which I'm a fan of because it just goes all the way, is to double all proficiency modifiers. Yup, whatever proficiency modifiers you have, double them. Don't worry about your finicky balance, don't worry about it, it's gonna be fine. Just double them. Your players are gonna be happy that they can actually use the skills they're proficient with and be successful. So those are my thoughts on whether 5e is too swingy. In essence, my answer is yes, and I offer some solutions as well. If you disagree, please let me know. I would like to see your thoughts on this because I don't see too much discussion in terms of randomness versus reliability. And if you like the video, please consider leaving a like. I think it does help, from what I know. And if you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to comment, I'll probably respond or like it or heart it or something. Anyways, I'll see you later.